Okay, so check it, guys. That was weird. Let's do that again. That was a lot.
It was giving very much like Eric Voss cosplay in a way.
Hey, welcome back. It's Eric Voss. Oh no, it's Wanda. I don't know.
That is
Hey
very...
Eric, you're awesome if you're watching this. And then the cyber powers. Wow, that was country. That was so country.
The cyber
powers.
Cyber.
Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to Player One. My name is Kyron Turner and check it. I just need for you to do me a quick favor. Just like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. If you could just do that for us, we greatly appreciate it. Let's just go ahead and get this out the way. Why do I have my shirt off? Listen, this week we are not reviewing, but kind of going back to a game that was like shunned because it released and it was crap because nothing worked the way that it was supposed to and what was promised. But of course, I'm talking about Cyberpunk 2077. Now, this is of course a PS4 case, but they released the next gen upgrade for free on the PS5, and that's what I'm talking about today. Why? I have been waiting on this game since it was announced, and then they released it and it didn't work. Cars were dropping out of nowhere, people and missions weren't working, things were glitching, graphical errors were happening all over the place. And so it was a disaster, and the reviews were a disaster, and so they sent it back to the drawing board. And here we are today. The reason why I have a shirt off is because, guys, check it. You literally see genitals in this game. I'm not going to tell you where, but real life genitals, they do not hold back. And this game is about personal style and expression, and this is a game where t-shirts are armor. They have armor points, and slacks have, you know, resistances and different things to make you stronger and all this stuff. So like, why not express myself in the same way this game is coming on? Because honestly, this is one of the funnest games, especially with this next gen upgrade, that I have played. So y'all, let's just jump in. Okay, so guys, check it. It's story time. So you play as V, y'all. You start off in like one of these three life paths. You have Nomad, Street Kid, or Corpo. And each one of those like mean their own different thing. And he starts off gaining a new life and a new ground in this infamous Night City. So after various like, you know, run-ins with this friend that you have, you end up getting caught in this terrible ass murder plot. And this is where the story actually begins. And it sends you along with, believe it or not, Keanu Reeves on this crazy cool story. Guys, I'm about 30 hours in, and it's only like really just begun for me because all I can do is look at the game and the details. It is filled with like really mature content, so like you might want to watch out if you're a child. But also, like, up on its initial release, it was criticized for some of the themes that it had, and of course, the world shuns it because it has an inclusion of trans characters. This is great for our community, but I think that's awesome. This game is groundbreaking in a sense that it goes there. You can create your character, and at the very beginning, you get to choose their gender, their pronouns. You dive in and you make it you, and that's all you want in an RPG. So I will say a negative is that there's a lot happening, and you really have to pay attention. They do their best to make it extreme, like really cinematic, and we'll talk about that later in its presentation, but it's just a lot happening with the missions, and so it's easy to get lost at times, especially if you're like me and bounce around on different games. But the story, guys, it's extremely intriguing, and one of the positives about it is that it is very cinematic. The story, they put something into it. The characters have facial expressions and a life. You feel it. Even Keanu Reeves, they capture his essence as a video game character, and his voice acting is great, so it all works. I'm about 30 hours in, and I love it so far, guys. So we're all here for the gameplay, because like, that's why we play games. So let's check that out. You know, there were a lot of times while playing this that I just found myself like getting lost with very small things in the city in the different districts of the Night City. The car rides to missions, the looking out the window, watching people live out their freaking lives, just like doing people things in this game, or just like taking in the scenery. Every moment I have this game on, I am captured. One of the biggest things that just like draws you into this game, guys, is the combat, which includes melee action. It's got guns. It's got thousands of different guns. Not thousands, obviously, but it's got a bunch of different guns with different weapon types, and it's dope. You can also do things like these little fighting mini games, or you can. It almost turns into like Grand Theft Auto at one point, where you're racing in races in the cars. And the cars, you know, when you're driving one of the cars in Cyberpunk, it feels a little like slipping and falling on an ice skating rink, but it's interesting. And then the cyber powers, which are these different mods, because in the cyberpunk world, in the steampunk kind of world, everybody has these modifications, a la Bioshock, where they had like genetic modifications. This time they have like surgeries, and they're mechanical in ways or whatever, and you can mod yourself, and you can do that with so many different things and so many different pieces of yourself, with the weapons, with the melee combat, with everything, hacking into cameras and doing all kinds of stuff just to kind of set up a fight scene for you. Yeah, it's a lot, but it is so satisfying. Now, one negative I will say is that there are a lot of buildings and a lot of different environments that you can't go into, and you're like, dang, I wish I could go into that. But a positive about it would be that there are so many other areas, weapon shops that you found on the side of the road, churches that you can enter, clubs that you can enter, all different types of things that they have to kind of make up for all the other things that you can't do, so it kind of evens out. So one of the really big things that will draw you into a game, at least for me, y'all, is the world. How is it built, and does it immerse me? Does it make me feel like I am part of this world? So we'll talk about that. Night City, the city that you're involved in Cyberpunk, is filled with so many interesting characters, guys, and hidden storylines and all kinds of stuff just kind of waiting to be uncovered. Now, uncovered, not unscovered. I'm a rugrat, apparently. You could be walking and like happen to notice the aftermath of some explosion, only to approach it and find a dead body with some note attached that tells you that some friend was going to tell you to stop and don't explode the building, but you did it anyway, and then he died, and so you see the aftermath. It does have a lot of heavy, mature content, as I stated, guys. But I do personally applaud CD Projekt Red for taking a risk and making this world feel genuine and just going all out to make it feel real. Listen, when an NPC walks past you and cusses you out on the street, you really feel like you're home. Now, the positive to it is the world is so fleshed out, and there is so much to look at and so much to just like get involved in and just get lost. It's like, it's unreal. It's so unreal. But that's also a negative. I've played it for about 30 hours, and guys, I gotta tell you, at least 15 of those hours I'm just like reading the newspaper on the bench. I'm, watching the drunk say what he's saying as he walks, down the street. I'm following the hooker and having, guys, there's a whole sex scene in this game. I showed you.
Yes.
And it's very graphic. Whoever designed that, you're gay. You're gay. And of course, we must talk about the graphics. This was one of the biggest points when it released that people were kind of mad about. The graphical errors, the glitches, the unfinishedness of it all. No offense to CD Projekt Red, but it just wasn't done and it wasn't ready. And upon another release, upon this next gen release, guys, there are still some graphical errors, but this is a huge game. We have to excuse some things. And I will say, and I am pleased to report, that none of it, as far as where the game is now, interferes with the enjoyment of the game or the progression of the game. It looks beautiful. In either mode, I honestly find myself through whatever playthrough I'm in, switching back between ray tracing and performance mode. It's so stupid, but I just love to see it. The performance mode is buttery smooth, and the ray tracing is so beautiful. So it's just nuts. Detail is crazy in this game. And of course, the negative would be that if we had to give it one as far as in the graphics area, that there are some things, there's an area of the game where there's like this landfill, and if you go in the landfill, there's trash floating in midair, and there's rocks not finished. There's areas there's some things that happen on your character that kind of mess up sometimes, but it's not anything that breaks up the game. The positive being, guys, this is one of the best games I've ever seen in my life, and it doesn't even run at 120 hertz, and it's awesome. Definitely just to check it out for how it looks. It also plays really well though, believe me. It's worth a go. And of course the last thing we want to talk about would just be like the RPG elements of it all. When this game released, they even took off their website the fact that that they released this as an RPG because it just wasn't finished. And the perk tree wasn't as good as it is now. They redid it with this new upgrade. And now I would definitely say you can call it an RPG. The perk tree is all new and it's extensive. It takes some work to get into. The upgrades are unreal. You can make upgrades from everything to your eyeballs and the way they function and what you can see on your HUD or your HUD rather. You can make modifications to your legs to double jump, to your arms to have weapons, to just everything. It's so dope. One of the missions and the way it's set up that way, it's awesome. You can either get them through a phone call, a text message, or like a hologram call, and they just come through and then you go and do what you need to do through contacts. At times it gets a little overwhelming. That will be the negative on my end, but there is never not something to do. That being the positive for me. The RPG elements are fixed, and I can and would. It doesn't even say it on the box or on the game that it is an RPG, but I call it an RPG. It feels like an RPG. I feel awesome. I feel like I'm leveling up and getting better and finding all these weapons. Why do we play RPGs, guys? That's why. So I love it. You gotta love it. Should you play Cyberpunk 2077 Next Gen Upgrade? Abso-freaking-lutely. It is crazy good. The revamps are dope. It does still have some work to be done, but guys, these games, and the reason why we do have more and more games releasing with errors is because look what we're used to now. Look what we expect now. Can you do that? I can't. This is an awesome game. Please take the time to revisit it. It is dirt cheap right now. You can buy the PS4 version if you have a PS5. I think I got this for like 14 bucks. Definitely check it out. Cyberpunk 2077 is an awesome game. CD Projekt Red. Thank you so much. Guys, this is Player One. Thank you so much for joining me. I am Kyron Turner. I will see you next time. Have a great freaking week.